Wallace Ford, public administrator professor at Medgar Evers College. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Nice to have you. So, as you guys just heard, President Trump spoke to reporters at the White House today and said that the investigation is more about corruption, not politics. But does that justify him going to foreign entities for help to investigate the Bidens?
You know how many times the United States government and its law enforcement agencies are involved with foreign governments in investigating varied crimes, money laundering, bank fraud, terrorism, drug distribution? This is nothing new. What, you just have to be named Joe Biden and you can't be investigated? You announce that you might be running against a public official and that public official can't engage in investigation of you? If that were the case, guess what? Every single Democrat who's running for U.S. president right now would be guilty of a crime and be guilty of several counts of a crime because they've asked for investigations of Donald Trump. And so if it benefits Donald Trump to have some potential adversary be investigated, then it's going to benefit all of them to have their potential official investigated. So this is a complete and total farce.
Well, that's pretty amazing, but let me just, we've heard of Aesop's fables. Let me give you a Ford fable for a moment.
Okay.
Let's imagine that it is now 2004, and George W. Bush is running for president, and he asked the governments of Mozambique and South Africa to investigate who? Teresa Heinz Kerry, who is the wife of his opponent for president of the United States, John Kerry. She was born in Mozambique. She went to school in South Africa. Imagine, if you will, if he had tried to do something like that, what the outcry would be, because you don't ask foreign governments to investigate your political opponents. Now, with all due respect to my colleague here, you know, it's a kind of like a false equivalent, what we're speaking about, because in point of fact, we have never, and if you go back to 1787, this is our Wayback Machine for a moment, go back to 1787, at the Constitutional Convention, one of the big concerns was to make sure that this new country called the United States of America would not get involved or be affected by foreign governments, because it was a vulnerable entity then. The United States is not so vulnerable now, but it still has to be concerned about the impact and involvement of foreign governments. And for the president, just a minute, Ken, for the president of the United States to publicly, it is amazing, to publicly ask for foreign governments, China in one instance, Ukraine in another, who knows who's next tomorrow? Will it be Italy? Will it be Portugal? I don't know. Brazil, they've got a pretty autocratic president there, so maybe they'll get along. And so they want to investigate. They want to investigate.
No evil, see no evil. I don't know what you're talking about here.
But you actually do. But you actually do.
No, I actually don't.
But actually you do.
What if Donald Trump thought that Joe Biden was guilty of murder? Well, and he had evidence that he was potentially guilty of murder.
To the Department of Justice.
He can't ask for an investigation.
That's a role of the Department of Justice.
Why is there any differentiation between going to a foreign government?
Biden did respond to the controversy today. Here's what he told our correspondent Mike Shore.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, you wonder what this guy's going to do. Have you ever seen, a rhetorical question, a president ever so unhinged as this guy is? That's what worries me. Let the House focus on what they're focusing on in the Senate, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to beat him on the merits.
All right, there you go. He thinks our president is unhinged for what he did.
Well, wait, hold on a second. There you go. Joe Biden tried to beat Donald Trump on the merits of issues, not on this falsehood.
Hold on, let me finish. Issue? What issue is it?
There is nothing illegal in asking a foreign government to be involved in an investigation of anybody, even a political adversary. Okay. There is no law,
but it has simply never happened,
federal or state,
but Ken,
that allows
it has never happened in the United States history, 230 years.
It's never happened in 230 years where one political candidate asked for another political candidate to be investigated by a foreign government.
Ken, no president of the United States has ever asked a foreign government to investigate a political opponent in the history of the United States until now.
You had a fable. You had a fable. I have a phrase. So what?
Gentlemen,
he believes that he's guilty of a crime.
So we're now at this cornerstone of history somehow?
We're going to keep it moving because Biden seems to have support from his rivals on the campaign. Here's what Kamala Harris had to say just a short time ago.
You know, I leave Joe Biden alone. That's exactly what Donald Trump wants. The fact is that he has been in cahoots with the head of a foreign government to manipulate the outcome of yet again another election of president of the United States. And the focus needs to be on him and his conduct.
Is this a smart campaign?
Well, see, let me just say one thing, because Kamala Harris mentioned something that's important, which I neglected to mention. This is not just anybody that Donald Trump is speaking about. He's speaking about someone who may be running against him for president, which means he's asking a foreign government to get involved in the elections here in the United States.
He's not.
It happened in 2006. You can say no all you want.
I can't
that doesn't
say no.
make it true.
I can't say no because this is a laughable. This is a laughable fable.
Are you laughing?
Because
are
of the
you
fact
laughing?
that
Are the people of America laughing?
Because of the fact that he's asking for somebody to be investigated.
Not somebody. It's not somebody.
That is
it's not you, Ken.
Can I finish?
It's not me. No, because it's not. It's not you.
I thought you just had your time to speak.
We're just yelling.
It's a political opponent. It's a political opponent.
Now may I speak? You had your moment to speak about this.
Okay.
Very quickly. We don't have much time.
For somebody to be investigated who he thinks is guilty of a crime.
Somebody.
I don't happen to think that Joe Biden is guilty of a crime, but he has information that makes him believe that he might be guilty of a crime. It's perfectly lawful, and nobody's talking about the fact that Joe Biden had that prosecutor fired for investigating his son's company.
We have to end it there.
Which most of the Western world, including the United States, supported. But that's okay.
Love the
Thank you
passion
so
on
much.
both
Love
sides.
You, Ken.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
thank you so much. Kenneth, Vecchio, love the handshake, too. Dr. Wallace Ford. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show.
All right.
Nice.
Fist bump.
Superstar James Franco facing new allegations of sexual misconduct.